Sweet. Okay. We're up and live. We're a little bit early. So we'll wait for some people to come in and join us so that we can get going. It's 7:30. So, all right. People are popping in over on Facebook. Mr. Scott, Mr. J, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Jeff, hello. Good evening. Jay, did you ever get that read for your wife? And not that I was trying to create a little bit of competition there between you two. Okay, yeah, I was. So, Mr. Brian, welcome. Kay, Jerry Dixon, how you doing? Welcome from the YouTube page. Mr. Matty Lux, how you doing, brother? So, Mr. Brian, hello. So, tonight, what we're going to talk about is common struggles with learning to call elk. I know I had made a post a couple of weeks ago and asked what you guys struggled with most, and kind of got several common responses. So, Lynn, hello. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours as well. Greg, hello. Freddie, how you doing? Scott, hello. Scott Schmid, let's talk about Chuckles. Jay, LOL, no, not yet. Whitetail is on my mind since she got a monster buck. I like it. Michael Hamilton, happy Thanksgiving to you too. So you're here to learn from my wisdom. Well, hopefully I have some wisdom that I can share with you. So Matty Lux, happy Thanksgiving to you. So, all right, it is 7:31, so let's get going. So, hey guys, I am Michael Batiste from the Elk Calling Academy, and this is Wapiti Wednesday Live Q&A. So, if this is your first time, welcome. The way we do Wapiti Wednesday Live Q&A is typically pick a subject. We start talking about that subject, and then those of you that are joining us live, either from our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, feel free to type questions in. We will try to answer those the best that we can as we go along. Also, if this is your first time joining us on the YouTube page, please feel free to hit that subscription button and make sure that you click that notification bell so that anytime we upload a video or we go live, you are notified of it. Also, we are 1 week out from the giveaway. So for those of you guys that don't know about the giveaway, we have a really cool call prize package together that we are going to announce the winners live next Wednesday during Wednesday's live Q&A. We are giving away 2 sets of these. One winner is going to be drawn from our subscribers from the YouTube page, and one winner is going to be drawn from those that like and follow our Facebook page. So if you have done both of those, you have 2 entries. Double the chances of win. So, all right. Ryan Clark, happy Thanksgiving. Martin McDonough, on late season elk hunt, do bulls respond to a cow call? They can. It's probably going to be more of a location bugle. You're not really going to hear that good, deep-hearted, fired-up bugle that you normally hear during the rut. We're really in post-rut right now, really setting up on staging in their transition areas, waiting to migrate to their winter grounds. So, all right, over here on Facebook, we had a bunch of stuff. Hello, Sensei. Scott, I like that. So, Jay... happy Turkey Day, Mike Boyd. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Joe McCarthy, welcome, welcome. Okay, also, real quick, for those of you that were asking, hats and shirts have been ordered. What I'm waiting on right now is basically for them to send the proofs over, then we can turn it loose in production, and then I'll have a better understanding of time frame. Also, for those of you that commented on the picture that I posted today about using the new logo on the new vinyl window decal. Yes, I am talking to a couple of places about getting 4.5-inch tall vinyl window decals of the new logo. So, all right. So let's jump into tonight's topic, common struggles. So, obviously we all know, especially if we have tried to call elk. There is a huge learning curve. There are struggles involved in it. So it's just going to happen. It's not something that you're just going to pop a reed in your mouth and you're going to be a world-class caller right off the get-go. So the way I kind of, Joe McCarthy, the struggle is real. Yeah. And it's an ongoing struggle. So you will have days that your diaphragm just is like a misbehaving child. It just does not want to work with you. It wants to fight with you. That is why I carry so many different reeds out when I'm hunting, because it always happens that my favorite reed starts really acting up and not cooperating. And so I have to put him in the call pouch. I have to put him in timeout, go with a different reed and let him change that attitude a little bit and decide that he wants to be my friend again and work with me. So, but the one thing that I kind of equate learning to elk call with is athletics. So, sports. When you first start playing sports, you don't just jump into it and immediately, you're succeeding all over the board. I mean, there are, cases where there's naturals. But for the most part, most people start with basics and fundamentals and learn those fundamentals and do those fundamentals over and over and over and over and over again. That is exactly like elk calling. There are fundamentals, there are drills, there are things that you can do to get better and better and better. So, a few of the struggles, responses that you guys got. One thing was consistency. Drills and practice are going to be things that really, really help you with the consistency. Now, I did record a video. In fact, I just recorded. It's all ready to upload. It is the next chapter in the Beginner's Guide to Elk Calling, and I talked about a lot of the common struggles that you guys put as responses. So Friday's video, it's going to cover the consistency, it's going to cover the drills, and yes, Scott, it even covers chuckles. So, but the couple of parts of struggles that I wanted to talk about tonight is kind of a couple of common mistakes, and also a couple of other things that were mentioned. So Tony Walker, how you doing? Anthony Boyd, happy Turkey Day. So Ryan Clark, talk to A&N Signs in Portland. They do awesome work. Ryan, thank you for that tip. I will research them as soon as we get off and reach out and see what we can find. So, okay, first off, a quick little mistake, and I've heard this from a lot of people, and when I've talked to them and they've been explaining the situation that they got into, and they were like, man, we were out doing a location bugle. We got able to respond. We hit him again with a location bugle to pinpoint him and just didn't hear another response from him. He just went completely silent. We covered this a while ago, location bugle versus challenge bugle, and that's exactly what it is. So here's a prime example. So a location bugle, it's just nice and relaxed. It doesn't have a ton of emotion in it. And if you notice, it's just nice and paced. So there's no rushing through it. A lot of people, when they go to do a location bugle, is they go from their first note skyrocket to the high note with a lot of emotion. And basically that is not a location bugle. That is a challenge bugle. And in fact, if you really listen to bulls, as they get more agitated, their bugles get higher pitched and shorter. So, and that's exactly what you just did right there. You thought you were doing location bugles, but really you're just running around challenging everything. If you want to know how that works in the human realm, walk down the street, walk down the sidewalk of your town and challenge every guy that you meet to a fight. See how it goes. See what kind of reactions you get. Most people are going to think that you've got to screw loose and kind of avoid you. Now, of course, eventually you're going to find that guy that had a really, really bad day, challenge accepted, fight on, and you guys are rolling out in the middle of Main Street. So Part of the struggle I think that a lot of people have is really understanding the vocalization. I mean, I hear it from a lot of people. Oh, don't have vocalizations. They're just a dumb animal. These same people have only killed one or two elk in their lifetime and they've hunted decades. So they do have a vocalization, just like we have a vocalization. So it's just like you go to a foreign country where they speak a completely different language. You're not gonna understand what they're saying. You're not gonna understand. You would never guess what city I'm in watching this. Robert Martin, where are you, buddy? So yeah, you do need to understand, and that's part of what we do. In fact, we have several of our current students and past students on here. They can kind of attest what we teach. So, but that's just a little tip. So pace yourself. Now, I know it's hard sometimes when you're out there calling and the emotions are going and you're just excited and you're jacked, and it's hard to control that emotion. But if you really think about it, when you're doing location bugles, LAX, nice, yeah. So, but when you're out there doing location bugles, you're just trying to locate elk. You really haven't located anything yet. So you shouldn't have a spike of adrenaline or excitement unless it's opening morning and you have that natural you kind of rush anyways. So now the drills to kind of help you control that, I'm going to point you guys towards Friday's video. But one other thing was kind of pacing. And I thought that was a great struggle. So, because if you really listen to people bugle, we tend to hold our notes, especially on our bugles, a lot longer than what elk do. So, if you really want to learn the pacing, if you really want to learn the cadence of elk calling, there's no better way to learn than from studying the animals themselves. Spend some time on YouTube, type in cow elk sounds, type in bull elk sounds, and just listen to them. And in fact, if you have to, pull your phone out, have it on stopwatch, and as soon as that bugle starts, hit it. When it stops, hit it. See how long their bugles really are. That's going to help you with pacing. That's going to help you with just all aspects of calling. But also, too, the more you listen to them, you're really, really going to hear. I mean, especially cow sounds. I mean, if you really listen to cows, the hollowness that they have to their mews and the nasaliness that they have to their mews, and just watching them where they do their vocalizations with mouth open or mouth closed, and how much expansion those sounds have. And I can guarantee you watch that and then you think about this little thing right here. So now I know we talked about the other night. I think one of you guys had talked about when we were doing the grunt tubes, you talked about carrying two tubes. You carried a bigger tube and then a smaller, skinnier tube. Well, why not carry a multi-tool like the Game Changer so that you can have that smaller tube to bugle, but then you can also use it to really get that expansion and that depth of matching cow sounds and add realism into your calling. So a couple of the other struggles were finding a diaphragm that doesn't make me gag. So that's really, there could be a couple of things that play into that. I mean, there are just some people that have the gag reflex, and there's just no way around it. Even with the raised angle palate plates or the new dome breeds that are designed to go a little farther forward in your mouth, you're still going to have a little bit of a gag reflex. Can you overcome that? It really depends on how bad your gag reflex is. I mean, if it's just a mild case of gag reflex, then yeah, you can train yourself to get used to that diaphragm. But if it's a really bad case, the chances of you getting over the gag reflex and being able to use a diaphragm read, I'm sorry, are pretty slim. It's pretty tough. And some people are just that way. It's just how their body is, how their soft palate is. So Chad, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving, Chad. Thank you. So, all right, we had a couple of other things pop in here real quick. Let's see. Jeff, one possible struggle during early and rut hunts. Elk are talking, and then 8 a.m. they stop. What's the next 6 hours look like? Um, really, Jeff, I don't know if that's a struggle as maybe more understanding elk biology and elk behavior. So, early season, it's quite a bit hotter, so they go to bed earlier. So, they're moving during the cooler temperatures. So during that heat of the day, they're bedded down. But if you understand elk biology and elk behavior, and we've talked about this before, they'll go and lay down and they have that stomach full that they'll sit there and they'll chew on that cud and they'll work on the contents of that stomach while they're bedded down. And, it'll take them about 3.5 to 4 hours to go through those contents, and then that stomach's empty. Well, guess what? As soon as that stomach's empty, they're going to get back up and they're going to mill around and they're going to feed. So that midday time is a great time to be in there. We've harvested several bulls over the years during that middle of the daytime because, one, you have a lot less competition out there because a lot of people actually go back to camp and hang out in camp, take a nap or do this or that. So our approach and mindset has always been we've worked really hard to get up on the ridge or get back to where we are. Why not spend all day back there? You can't kill them from camp. Well, let me back up. You can, it does happen. But in reality, the more time you spend out there, the more chances that you have for opportunities that can lead to success. Now, is it going to be a full-blown bugle fest? It could, but it's probably not going to start. You might hear a bull just pipe off a little bit with a little bugle as he gets up and heads over to get water or heads to a wallow or maybe moving around feeding a little bit. So, but that's where, during that middle of the day, just those 3 to 4 cow calls, like we talked about, is a really effective tool to call those midday elk to you. Now, those 3 or 4 soft cow calls, every 4 or 5 minutes can elicit that bull to respond, which then gets an opportunity to move in close and engage and start calling that bull and get into a calling interaction. So, so Jeff, that's kind of what that 6-hour time frame looks like. Fred Dane from Manitoba, Canada. Welcome. Happy Thanksgiving. Okay, let's see. T-Wall, I call it a bull this year. Came in screaming, and when he got to about 40 yards, he stopped and did a couple of cow mews. What's up with that? So probably the reason that he stopped where he did, Ty, is he got to the point where he thought he should be able to see that elk that's making the sound, that's making, the noise. As far as the cow mews do, yeah, bulls will mew. You got to think about it. When a bull calf is born and they spend their first 2.5 years or so, they're with those cows and calves all year long. So they're used to hearing that type of vocalization. So, and in fact, my buddy, Kevin posted a video, I think last year, of a bull he was calling in, and this bull's coming down the hill towards him mewing, and he's doing it mouth open and he's doing it mouth closed, really soft. And that's, this bull did bugle once or twice, but a majority of the time he's just bugling coming in. So yeah, they can mew as well, but he probably hung up, because one, he got to that point where he thinks he should have been able to see that elk, or two, there was something there that he didn't want to cross. So if you do your setups right, meaning you put your shooter at that hang up spot and the caller move far enough back to where that bull has to move through that hang up spot, you won't have those problems. It's a little tougher if you're hunting solo, because you basically have to call and then try to move up towards that hang up spot so that you can shorten that distance and get a shot. It's a huge challenge being solo because you're the caller, you're the shooter. But I'll tell you what, you do everything by yourself. You call that bull in, you make the shot, you break him down, you pack him off all by yourself. You accomplished a heck of a feat. So, you got to understand, you know, in one trip, if you take a hind quarter, a front quarter, and some of the loose meat, I mean, you could be talking, a pack with 120 to 140 pounds of meat on your back. So, you're making a couple of trips of that. So, yeah, it's a huge accomplishment to do it yourself. So, Jeff, thanks. Good thoughts. Okay, I was solo. Yeah, that's the tough part there. So, what you can do in that situation, and I've done this before, where he comes up and he gets to that hang up spot, I just go quiet. So if I don't have a shot at 40 yards, I've got to move a little bit. So I'm just going to go silent, kind of let him look around, lose interest, and turn around and start going back out. Wait until I can't hear him anymore. And then I'm going to make a sound, and I'm going to try to do this half moon, 5 or 10 yards to the side, to the downwind side, and try to get 10, 15, 20 yards up if I can. So that way, if he comes back to that same spot, which they will a lot of times. So, and in fact, how many of you guys have noticed that a lot of times when a bull comes in, they hang up, they stop, they look, and then they turn around and they go right back out on the same path. Reason is they've walked that path. They know it's safe. They've also been to that hang up spot. I've done this with bulls in the past where I've had to do this 3 or 4 times. So yeah, you might just try that if you find yourself in that situation again. It's call and move, call and move. So, okay, back to kind of some of the struggles. One of the things that I really noticed was consistency, and I kind of talked about that before. The practice and the drills, but really a big part of it goes to last week or week before when we were talking about diaphragm reads. Getting the diaphragm read that fits you the best. So, we all kind of get there, especially when we want to start learning, that we grab a diaphragm, we spit, we blow slobber, we do all kinds of stuff, and then finally we can start making a sound out of it. Is it the best sound? No, but we're making a sound. But God dang it, we're going to make this work. We're going to fight through it. We're going to struggle with it. I'm going to will this thing to work. Within reality, though, if you were to try a different diaphragm read, maybe from another manufacturer or something that fits the palate of your mouth a lot better, you might find how easier it is to learn. So, I've been pretty fortunate to, call on a bunch of different reads from different manufacturers within the industry. And there's a lot of good reads out there. And can I make a lot of them work? You bet. But the thing is those that fit my palate better have much cleaner sounds. I have much better control. The transitions are easier. I don't have to force it. I don't have to fight it. It just flows and happens. Same thing with you guys. Don't be afraid to try different manufacturers. Don't be afraid to try different reads. It's the only way you're going to know which one works best for you. And I'm telling you, if you find the one that fits you the best, you'll be amazed at how much, or I should say, how little effort it takes to make the sounds. So, I mean, even taking a diaphragm reed and tuning it to fit the roof of your mouth properly can make all the difference in the world. I remember, the one student I talked about that did 26 lessons. That's one of the things we did with him was we changed position of where the reed was in the roof of the mouth, but then we also tuned that reed to fit his mouth. And he was blown away at the difference. He noticed that it took a lot less tongue pressure. It took a lot less air pressure, that he had a lot more control, a lot more enjoyment out of calling. And I mean, it's so sorry, guys. Scott just threw in Marco. So, Scott, they're supposed to be coming, buddy. I'm just as anxious. I know you want them. Bernie from Arizona wants them. I would love to get my hands on them. And in fact, that's the best read for my wife. So I know, Greg, I knew somebody when I was talking about the reads. I knew, Marco was going to come up. And Scott's a prime example of that. I think Scott and I worked, we did a few lessons together. And I think Scott, I think we went through a couple of different manufacturers really trying to find the one that fit you the best. And then as soon as, we went with that Marco, man, it was just, night and day on how well that worked with your calling. So Jay, I want one too. Well, better take two of them. Jay, I figured you would learn by now not to just buy one reed, that you need to buy two of each. So that way your partner in crime has one to use as well. So Sean Keller, I gag when I go to the dentist, so everything I use has external reads and have had great success. Yeah, and by all means, I'm not saying that if you can't use a diaphragm read, you can't be successful. That's hogwash. Sean's a prime example of it. I have a couple of other buddies that they don't even use diaphragm reads. For bugle, and they use the EOK power bugle that they modified a little bit to have a bell end to give a little more depth to the sound, and open reed cow calls. And you know what? Those guys put bulls on the ground year after year after year, and some dandy bulls. So, that power bugle has been around and on the market for a long time, and has called in a lot of elk. So, yeah. So what I'm saying with the diaphragm read, and it goes back to the gag reflex. So, yeah, some people just have such a severe case of that gag reflex that there's no way they can get them into a diaphragm read. So, Jerry Dixon, hello, Fred, Kansas guy here. So, okay. Scott, 5 brands is what you tried before the Marco. Several work very well, but the Marco is just easy. See, that's a prime example right there. Could make the other reads work, but when you find that one that fits the roof of your mouth the right way, it really does become easy, because really what's going on is that air's not leaking around. You're actually maximizing, the air channeling across the latex, and it takes, a lot less effort. So some of the other struggles, like I talked about, have the video coming up Friday with the next chapter of the Beginner's Guide to Elk Calling. So what other questions do you guys have for tonight? Go ahead and kind of throw those in. Okay, we talked about the shirts, we talked about the hats, talked about the stickers, talked about the Marcos. Lucas, Phelps green amp was the one for me. Yeah, the green amp is a great read. In fact, I was using the green amp quite a bit. I really like the black and the green, and here lately now it's the gray and the white. And I think that's one of those things that as you guys progress into your calling, you're going to notice that there's some days that you're a heavy tongue pressure, heavy air pressure, and other days you're a little lighter. So, and that's the difference between that black and green versus the gray and white. The gray and white are heavier, a little heavier latexes. So, I do have, I've had another extra week now to play on the latest round of reads from Native by Carlton. I think we really have it narrowed down to the 1.5 and the double. So once we get through Thanksgiving, I'll talk to Mark a little bit, and we will get those sent out to some of you guys to try. So Scott, chuckles. I've read one chuckle is a welcome and a different chuckle is aggressive. Not so much a welcome and aggressive. It's more like one chuckle is excited or happy. I didn't talk about that in Friday's video. So here we go. Okay. So there's an excited chuckle and there's aggressive chuckles. So, yes, I was just going to ask about them. So the excited chuckles. They're fast paced. They're not real sharp on the notes. They don't have a lot of aggression into them. So it's just think of a little kid giggling. You know, a little kid giggling that's having fun, that's playing with a toy. He's happy. That's how I equate those fast chuckles. They're kind of happy. Now, aggressive chuckles, you can definitely, and it's easy to tell the difference because aggressive chuckles. You know, the aggressive chuckles definitely have more of that ape-like sound to it. It has a sharper high note, has more thump on them. So that's how you can really tell the difference between excited chuckles and aggressive chuckles. Jack Keithley, Outdoor Hunting Addiction, welcome, brother. Scott Elliott or Stephen Elliott, how you doing, bud? So, Jay, yes, I was going to ask about them. Jay, I assume you were going to ask about the Native by Carlton reads. So yes, I think we're there. So I just have to get to him. You know, that just also reminded me too. So On Point with Garrett Weaver, a few weeks back, did another podcast with him, kind of recapping the season. If you listen to that episode, you know that Garrett and I talked about a giveaway. So Garrett is getting ready to announce the contest, and up for grabs are 2 free calling lessons, one-on-one lessons with me. So make sure that you follow On Point with Garrett Weaver, follow his Instagram page. So that way, you know what's going on. So Steven, I think we want to know about the read. You guys want to know about the 3 new reads from Native by Carlton. So Greg, I really want a shot at the 1.5. That sounds like a sweet read. Never tried a Marco, but the gray ant, black and red latex, and the Maverick worked the best for me. But Kay didn't think they sounded great until I had a small wrinkle. So, okay, hold on, guys. All right, since you guys asked, so this was the first one that I showed, you know, a couple of weeks ago. This was our first working prototype. It is a 1.5. That one definitely is going to go into production. It is a really, really nice responsive. Now, you guys asked for more depth. So we took the 1.5 and we kind of tinkered with it a little bit to see if we could get that more depth that you guys were asking for. So there's kind of a little tweak on that 1.5 for those of you that asked for Jerry, hand over the calls and nobody gets hurt. I like it. So there's the 1.5 that kind of gives a little bit more depth for those of you. Now, the thing about this 1.5, since in order to get that more depth, we had to go with a little heavier latex, which means it takes a little bit more to drive it. It takes a little bit more to operate it. So for some of you beginners, that first 1.5 is extremely responsive. It's extremely easy to get it to rock right up. This next 1.5, you know, that second gen 1.5, the last one I just blew on, I'm going to put that more in the intermediate type of class. And then finally, the double. Now, these are not the tapes that are going to come on these. So The double, even though it is a double, it doesn't take a lot of extra pressure than what that 1.5, but it does give you some really, really good backbone on it. The double, intermediate callers, especially if you're a heavy type caller, you're really, really going to enjoy that read. I've had a lot of fun playing with all three of these. Jack, just take my money. I need that double. So I want the first 1.5. See, this is what's cool. So everybody wanting something a little bit different, the way they drive and how they sound and the tones that they create. Chris from Loveland, Colorado here just started watching your channel and learning a lot. Thank you, sir. Chris, welcome. So, okay, let me check a couple more comments here, and then I'm going to do a couple of other things on these reads. So, okay. That's awesome. Yeah, buddy. Heck yes. Evening, sir. I swear I will find time to call you this week to get on your schedule. Jeremy, I know it's a busy time, bud. Ooh, I like that one. I like that double. Released in a 3-pack. I don't know. That's completely up to Native. So, but here, let me do a little bit of lip balling on each of these so you guys can hear how they sound. So, okay, first off is the first 1.5, the lighter one. So as you can hear, it's definitely, a little higher pitch, little older bull or a little younger bull. Okay. The thicker 1.5, the deeper. And now the double. And since somebody asked that wanted to hear it through the Game Changer. First 1.5, second gen. And then finally the double. So there you go. That'll give you guys kind of some examples of what each of those sound like. Like I said, we're probably to the point now where going to send a few of these out for you guys to try. I will get with Scott. I need that Game Changer too. Just send me all the things. Scott, actually, Game Changer is on here tonight. Freddie, the owner and developer of Game Changers right here. In fact, he just commented. So I think I'll be grabbing the deeper 2 and 1.5. Really all three of these, you can do all your vocalizations. You can do your cow-calf sounds. You can do all your bugles. You can do your huffs, grunts, and whines. I mean, the full gambit of vocalizations. So, but I will get with Mark and we'll figure out, some sort of way to get these out to some of you guys to try, because we really want your feedback on how these operate. So Jerry Dixon, when a bull growls, what should your response be or approach? Thanks. Okay, that's a great question right there. Now, a lot of times, let's see if you guys have been in this situation. So you're kind of moving through, you're trying to locate elk, and then all of a sudden you just hear this bull. that he just growls. That's all he does is a low growl. Now, normally he's within 100 yards. He's pretty close. Most people will all of a sudden just stop and go, oh my God, there's an elk right there. And they'll just freeze. They'll not do anything. What that bull is doing is he's basically saying, I heard you walking. I heard you. Who are you? And you have about 10 to 15 seconds to make some sort of elk noise. Because what he's doing is he's making that sound and he's asking you to announce yourself. Let him know that you're an elk. Well, by you pausing and freezing and not saying anything, basically what you're telling him is I'm a predator. Because obviously, if he does that low growl while you're walking through, do you think a predator is going to mew back at him? Do you think a bear or a wolf is going to mew back? No. So basically, like I said, he's asking you, let me know who you are. Let me know you're an elk. But he already has his escape route. He has the door open and he's waiting for you. That 10 to 15 seconds. If you don't give him some sort of elk sound, boom, he's gone. Just a soft, simple cow call. Yeah. We'll just let him know, hey, I'm an elk. Now, at that point, since you are that close, there's a chance that then all of a sudden he may start doing some roundup bugles, trying to call you to him, but it opens up the door now for all of a sudden interaction. He doesn't know what's there. He doesn't know if it's a single cow that's roaming. He doesn't know if it's a group of cows. He doesn't know if it's just a few cows and a bull. So, great opportunity to set up right there. Make it appear like it's a couple of cows with a bull that's bringing up the rear a little bit. Break into that breeding sequence. Make sure that you have shooting lanes. Make sure that you have, your approach corridor for him to come in on you and set up and start calling. But when you hear that growl, especially if you're walking, 1 or 2 soft cow calls. Now, in other cases, I'll volunteer. I like how you guys are volunteering to run these calls. I love it. So there was something else. Hold on, guys. Pretty please. Those 1.5s are as good as in my pocket once I can find them. I like it. I volunteered to test drive. So throw them a cow call. Yeah, when you hear that low growl, especially if you're moving through and you hear that low growl, just give them a cow call. I have never been growled at, but I got into a spot where I could smell the elk, knew they had to be close, less than 80 close, just couldn't see. Growled like that and the woods blew up. So, okay. If I may, this is one reason why the GC was created, easy access to reply, cow or bull vocalizations. Absolutely. So, now, Jerry, in other cases, when a bull just growls, what should your response be or approach be? So if you're bugling or locating and a bull just gives you a low growl, I mean, that's a different thing. That's just kind of giving a response like, whatever. So, not really giving you the time of day. He doesn't really want to say, hi back with a full-blown location. He doesn't feel a threat from you, so he's not giving a display bugle or any type of aggression. It's just a response, but it is a response. So it's something that you can pinpoint that bull's location, know where he's at, move in to get your setup right, and then start working that breeding sequence to raise his aggression. Because really, in that breeding sequence, and when you really first start doing it, you're really not calling and interacting with that bull anyways. You're kind of telling your own story and painting your own picture and wanting him to get excited to the point where he wants to be a part of what's going on over there. He wants to know what's going on. So really, you don't start interacting that bull until his aggression level or excitement level reaches a certain point, because you really still don't know what you're dealing with based off that growl. You don't know if it's a young bull bull, if it's, a 4.5-year-old 5x5, if it's, a herd bull with 5 or 6 cows, or a herd bull with cows and a satellite bull, you still don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. So you still really don't know which avenue that you're going to really go down as far as your aggression level with him. So that's why a lot of times we start with that breeding sequence to gather some information on what we're dealing with. Then we actually know what approach to take with that bull. So good to know. Robert, that just happened to me last week, but I didn't know what that meant or what to do. New to elk hunting. Thanks for the info. You bet. And it's one of those things with that growl that, I mean, it's not something that happens every day. It's not something that you encounter on a consistent basis. So, oh, look, we got Mr. Will Askew joining us tonight. For those of you that don't know, Will is the one that actually came up with the new Elk Calling Academy logo, and also came up with the shirt designs and the hat designs. So all credit goes to him. Give him kudos. Just absolutely love what he's done. So also, for those of you that do have businesses, go check out his work. So does great work, fair price, and really, really gets to know you and understands what you're looking for. So, so the growl, it's not something that you really deal with on a regular basis. So it's one of those things that kind of, and I was guilty of it early on. I would hear the growl and, oh crap, I would turn into a Roman statue and standing there like, oh, can he see me? What's going on? And this and that. But really it's one of those things that, what do you have to lose? And that's kind of how I started cow calling and just giving him some sort of response. Cause we're walking around, there's leaves, there's sticks, there's pine cones. I mean, the forest floor isn't like walking on carpet. It's not silent. They can hear us coming, especially if you're going through brush, they can hear you. So it just makes sense that if they can hear you, but they can't see you, they want to know what's around them. Is it a friend or is it a foe? So, Jeremy, question, bull chuckles at dark, just throwing a location for general idea of where the bull is for the next day. Should you work that area the next day and throw chuckles? So, okay. If a bull is calling in the dark, he is generally in his feeding area. So should you go there the next morning? Absolutely, because he was there the night before. Is he going to be in that exact same location? Probably not. He's probably wandering around and feeding, but he's going to be within 100 yards of that area. So absolutely go in there and start working. Now, should you throw chuckles? I'm always one of those ones that I will start off with a couple of lost mews, a couple of cow sounds, and then do a location bugle. So it just helps get the reed set in my mouth. It helps get saliva on it. It helps get it tuned up. But also chuckles too. Chuckles can be in a form of aggression. So, do you want to walk into a room and the first thing you say is F off to everybody in the room? Probably not. You might want to say hi first and then let it build to the second option. Same thing with chuckles and this and that. Try to start the conversation with a non-threatening, normal sound that they'll do all year round, which is the location bugles. Then work into kind of break that comfort bubble of that bull, and then start working into more aggressive type sounds. So, all right, over on YouTube, Chris, this year was my first archery season and spent the previous 8 or so months practicing shooting and my calling with the Phelps call. What do you recommend? Chris, are you asking what reed I recommend? Because what do you recommend for the situation where I don't get any responses in a whole week with locating calls or cow calls? Is the area dead or overpressure, etc.? But there's a lot of rubs and sign. So, Chris, I need a little bit more information. So what time of year were you in there? Were you there towards the later part of the season? Were you there? Because it could be what could have happened is you got into an area that was a bull's summer range, or kind of their staging area, where they'll actually rub the velvet off. And as soon as that pre-rut really starts kicking in, those bulls leave that area, go pick up their cows, and then head to their rutting zones or their bedrooms where they actually do the breeding. You're going to find a ton of rubs in there. Absolutely, you're going to find rubs. You're going to find beds. You're going to find older tracks. You still might find a fresh track here and there of one kind of wandering through, but you just won't find animals. So if you get into that area where you find a lot of the rubs, but you're just not getting any vocalizations, you're not getting any responses, you've hiked around and you're not finding any fresh tracks, then it's either one, it is exactly that. It's it's the summer range for the bulls where they hang out in bachelor groups during the summer, or two, you have an area where hunting pressure or predators push those elk out of the area. So it could be one of those two things. So that's why a lot of times that's exactly what happened to us this year. The elk just disappeared. So we ended up getting in the truck and just covering roads, calling up into canyons. I mean, it wasn't uncommon to put 70 miles on the truck just trying to locate. So sometimes you have to do that to find the elk. So all right, love it. Scott, nice job on the designs, Will. Jay, hey, we need the story about the bull behind you on the wall calling you did. So that is Pitchfork. So Pitchfork was actually, I was actually calling for my hunting partner on him. And it just happened. I mean, we had to work up some brutal elevation and through some brush and across rock faces to get up there. And we actually had multiple bulls going. And I told my hunting partner to, hey, head over to that tree right there. I'm going to head right up here and call. He should come right in that trail and be about 8 yards from you. The only problem is my hunting partner was heading to that, the lower bull bugled, and he thought maybe that bull was kind of circling down around below us to catch the wind. So he veered left. I set up and started calling and heard this bull come running through the brush. And I didn't even have an arrow knocked. I had my bow laying on the ground, and all of a sudden I was like, crap, I might actually, get a shot. And so I barely knocked an arrow and put my release on the string when that bull stepped out frontal at 16 yards. And I kept waiting for my hunting partner's bow to go off. It didn't. So I drew, anchored, buried that pin, right on his chest, was waiting for my hunting partner's bow to go off. He turned his head. I saw the funky horn, and that trigger went off. As soon as I saw a funky horn, I don't pass on those guys. So I was actually calling for one of my hunting partners on that. So it just the way it happened. So Will, can you explain the various chuckles, what their differences are before they move to straight bugles? So we kind of talked on it a little bit, Will. I'm not exactly sure when you jumped in tonight, but we kind of talked about aggressive chuckles and excited chuckles. So, with the excited chuckles kind of being those faster paced, and the aggressive chuckles having more sharper notes and thump to them. And really it's just kind of their mindset, where they're at. So a bull's progression while you're working. So you could start kind of some cow calling with some light bugling, and this bull's kind of giving those fast paced excited chuckles, and as you progress your calling, he evolves into some heavy aggressive chuckles. And then, he moves into aggravated, bugles that are, shorter in duration, really high pitched, and they fall off sharp with a heavy growl. And that's basically his progression of his aggression level, rising and getting angered with the situation. Could also be getting a little bit of frustrated with the situation, especially if you're only doing, cow sounds to him. His aggression level's rising because he's getting mad because this cow's not doing what he wants. And so that's kind of those various chuckles and the progression through those different chuckles and straight into the bugles. So Chris, thank you, sir. Perfect. So, Chris, I hope that answered your question about that situation. So, Jeremy, I don't know some rooms. I do want to say that. LOL, just kidding. Thanks. Great info. So, Steven found a spot like that this year. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. So, I had most response in high pressure areas using what I called a bedded bugle. It's what I heard most bulls doing at night, just a short ooh-ah. So, yeah, a bedding bugle is basically just, that bull nonchalantly is just, ooh, just giving this little whine, and he's almost kind of advertising. He's laying, in his bed, but he still wants to be kind of vocal in case there's any cows roaming around, that he's just saying, "Hey, I'm right here." It's kind of a really, lazy approach. I I guess it's almost like doing armchair aerobics. So yeah, you're kind of going through the motions, but you're not getting much of a workout out of it. So the cool thing is, though, if you hear that bedded bugle, um, you can really, really take those bulls with that bedded bugle, move in, and this breeding sequence is absolutely deadly on bulls like that, because you start you start presenting a scenario that they're looking for. They're looking for that hot cow. They're looking for that scenario, and you start painting that picture, and you can take those lazy bulls with the bedded bugles from 0 to 100 in just a few minutes. So those bulls progress really, really quick. So, all right, guys, we are almost there. So last round for questions. So again, Friday night's video, it's going to go live at 6:00. It is the next chapter of the Beginner's Guide to Elk Calling, where I dive into more of these common struggles. I also will give in that video some drills. So if you guys are really wanting to learn consistency, if you're really wanting to learn control, go check out that video and learn these drills that are just going to make you a better caller. So sometimes we got to strip it back and we got to go to fundamentals before we can actually progress and move forward. So Jeremy, my buddies make fun of my location bugle. They call it the wind up woo woo and try to hear it at the beginning. It works. Should I stay with it or change it up? I get responses. You know what, Jeremy? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, brother. So if you're getting responses on it, if you're getting bulls to respond, absolutely go with it. And Brian, I want to try those reads. So okay, next Wednesday, during live Q&A, I am going to announce the 2 winners of the kits, and I will make sure that I get with Mark so that I have information on these reads, so that way we can give you guys some information about how we're going to distribute these to different people for trying. So, all right, guys, I want to wish all of you and your families a happy Thanksgiving. Please take a moment tomorrow and give thanks for all the things in your life that you're thankful for. We truly are blessed. I mean, we have an opportunity to come together each week, talk about elk hunting, talk about a passion, and we really have that opportunity to go out and enjoy just this great passion that we have. All right, couple more rolling in real quick. Love it. Where is that video going to be? So the video will be posted onto our YouTube channel, but I will share it over onto the Facebook page as well. So it doesn't matter if you are on the YouTube or the Facebook, you will have access to that video on Friday. Is there a different pitch or tone distinguishable between Roosevelt elk and Rocky Mountain elk? Not that I have heard. So really the only one that I've heard a difference in is the Thule elk down in California. The Thule elk have kind of a higher pitched bugle to them than what you get on the Rocky Mountain and the Roosevelts. So really where you're starting to hear pitch difference is the age classification of the bull. So as they get older, their voices get deeper, it gets more guttural and more depth to it. So All right, Stephen Elliott. Late season for me starts Black Friday before first light. Any suggestion on the call setup? Cow calling on a busy area or just running gun? Really, Stephen, this time of year, I am a huge fan of getting into area with good, solid, fresh sign, and playing the slow play, playing that 3 or 4 soft cow calls, wait 4 or 5 minutes, and repeat, and just be patient and stay there. So I can guarantee elk will come check you out. They will come by. So, all right. Perfect. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks again. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Perfect, guys. Hey, thank you for spending your Wednesday night with me. I appreciate it. As always, guys, keep calling, keep practicing, but most importantly, have fun while you're doing it. And we'll see you guys next week on the next episode of Wapiti Wednesday Live Q&A. Have a great day tomorrow, everybody. Enjoy your families.